Hey guys, this is Zoo. For anyone that doesn't know me, I'm a League of Legends coach for United, previous analytics for Tempo Storm, and just wanted to talk about something that's been on my mind for the past couple days. It was I've been observing and speaking to a lot of people that are looking into coaching, going into franchising, and just into next year in general. It can be other regions too. Um, but there's a lot of people without any sort of professional experience, and that's not a diss on anybody, but it's just like how it is. They don't really have any sort of like really solid experience or professional or credible experience, and they're like realistically looking for head coaching roles in NA and other regions. Um, and this is something that really got me thinking about my own personal experience. I have yet to be a head coach in a professional setting, but that's something I'm looking to do. And I just kind of wanted to share like my experience and kind of connect it to my point of view. General disclaimer is that this video, everything that I say in the video is completely 100% just my opinion. It's not fact. It's not tied to any sort of organization or entity or a group of people or anything like that. Um, it's 100% up for debate, and it's just my opinion. If you agree with things I say, that's awesome. If you disagree with everything I say and you hate the video, yeah, that's cool too, dude. Like I don't really mind. It's just how it is, you know. So, like I was saying before, I've noticed a lot of people who are going and looking for coaching roles without really any sort of experience. And this isn't to knock anybody down, but it's just kind of like sharing my experience and kind of trying to heed some caution too. It's the same thing with players. This is how I kind of first originally started thinking about it. It's over the past year or so. You see the tweets on Twitter all the time where it's like looking for team LCS/CS, and someone's like 100 LP Masters, and they're looking for only starting LCS positions. And I always thought that was something that was kind of like unrealistic, and you always wanted to just like kind of work from the ground up and get the experience as you go and then get your opportunity. And with coaching and like with the whole franchise hype and all that stuff, and just like other regions expanding, like Europe expanding to 24 teams, um, there's kind of a lot of movement when it comes to staff. Like a lot of people looking for professional experience, looking for this to be the year that they really cement themselves as a professional, and that's fantastic. Like I'm so glad that so many people are passionate about this industry, and it's really great to have so many friends that like want to push themselves to go pro, and it's great. But I just wanted to share my experience. um there's before I started doing esports, I kind of just had like a couple different like traditional things that I experienced that I feel like tie into esports like ecosystems very well. Um, when I was a kid and when I was like middle school, high school, I did traditional sports and I did competitive drumline. Um, and then when I went to college, I went to school for audio engineering and music production. And when I was working, like part-time jobs, full-time jobs, stuff like that, I was a big fan of cooking and I liked working in culinary. And something that all three of these industries have in common is that value, they completely value the experience and the value of the person in general based on how much experience they have in the field. And they really look to build people from the ground up. Um, Kind of like the most obvious example, I suppose, is just coaching in traditional sports. So, like, let's say we take football. Um, American football, we have someone like if you have somebody that went to school, college for like sports performance coaching, or they went to school for psychology and performance coaching, like double major or something, they come fresh out of college at 22 years old, 23, 21 years old, whatever it may be, uh, and they start looking to coach the New England Patriots and be the head coach. Like, it's not really realistic. You see in the NFL, people are 40 years old and just getting their first chance at being a professional head coach. And it's because they want to shape the person and make them understand the full industry and get the experience in the industry beforehand. And I think that's really important. So you look at like a head coach, someone that spent 5 years as an offensive coordinator and then spent 5 years as like a special teams coach and then spent another 3 years as an assistant coach. And then, like, even before all of this, they would spent 10 years as a high school head coach or a college assistant coach. Like, they spent 15, 20 years in the industry before finally getting their chance to be a head coach. And when they finally get that head coaching role, they understand the ecosystem of the staffing like in and out. Like they understand everything from every point of view, and it makes them a better coach. And you can see some of the greatest coaches of all time in like NBA. If you look at people like Phil Jackson or like Bill Belichick or any of them, like there are people that followed this model and they really understand and they're really able to lead, because in order to lead you have to be able to follow first. And I'm huge on that. As confident and as cocky as I am sometimes, I also know that you have to follow before you lead. Just from personal experience, like when I was cooking, like I really like cooking and I like the culinary industry. I started out washing dishes and then I started out uh, from washing dishes. Then I moved to running food and then helping the prep cook, prepping, dicing carrots and onions and potatoes all day. Um, and then you like start helping the prep chef, and then from there you can move on to be a sous chef, and then from there you go on to be a head chef. And there are very few head chefs that start out as chefs. They do all the roles first. They learn from the ground up. Because if you understand what everybody is looking for and how everybody handles each job, you're going to be a lot better leader. Um, it's the same with like studio recording, audio recording. Um, I spent a little bit in high school. I was really into recording. I spent um, some time literally just observing the head engineer and just picking up cables and like turning off all of the microphones and like turning off the sound system and all that stuff, turning it on, setting up things in the morning. And you know what? After a couple months of that, I really got my first chance to set up a session where I like mic'd the drum set myself. And then when I went to school for audio engineering, um, I was able to like mic and set up the sessions myself and then delegate people to help me clean up or set up the projects. And then I could learn from my professors and from the upperclassmen how to lead projects. And then, eventually get to that point. Um, and I feel like just going about it in that way is so much more beneficial. And it kind of ties me into my next point, which is like, don't be afraid to take your time. Like, we're all young, time is on our side. This industry is going nowhere but up. Like, we have the time, just relax. Like, with be okay with doing all of the steps first. Like, you don't have to be 18 years old gunning for a head coach LCS position. Like, don't rush into things just to get the title. Because the fact of the matter is, you don't know exactly what the lifestyle and the job is going to be like until you actually go and do it. And I promise you, it's much different than you expect. In good ways and bad ways, and everything in between, depending on how you look at it. Um, just speaking from personal experience, like when I first moved in with Tempo Storm, like I thought I was just gonna like take the business by storm and be really good at my job. And like I was expecting to learn a lot from other people, but I felt really confident going into it. And the first week was a struggle, man. Like I was struggling to keep up basically. Certain aspects of the job I just like was not expecting that to be like a certain aspect about the job. And I don't know, man. I struggled, and I was so fortunate to take an auxiliary role and have someone like JJ, who is the manager of Tempo. I was so fortunate to have someone like him to take me aside and be like, "Hey, are you okay? Like, you don't seem like yourself. Um, like, it seems like your work's suffering a little bit." And I'm like, "You know what? You're right. Like, I'm struggling a little bit. I just wasn't expecting like this." And he's like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Dude, I'm good now. Like, thank you. I appreciate it. Like, I'm good to go. Like, I got this now. And you know what? After that, like I felt really confident and I like knew my place and I didn't really struggle that much from there on out. Um, but you know what? Like the lifestyle and the job were like totally not what I was expecting in good ways and sometimes not so good ways, again, depending on how you look at it. But if I came into that position as a head coach and struggled like that, the entire organization would have suffered. And I'm so glad I was in an auxiliary position so I was able to kind of struggle and then get myself back on track while minimizing the effect I had on the organization and then also pushing myself to be better and learning from other people. Um, and that's kind of a big thing too. Like you will learn more in the industry with just by talking to people who have more experience than you than you will in any other way. No amount of VODs, no amount of like Discord talks with your friends and stuff, like no amount of like typing in DMs to people will like none of that like really compares to just like the one-on-one or just the group honest conversations you have with some people who have been in this industry for like 5+ years. That's where I learned like most of my stuff. And it's so true and it's so valuable. Um, this kind of ties me into my next point, which is things like age and life experience are a lot bigger deal, in my opinion, than you might think. Um, Anyone who knows me, like I personally hold the opinion that you like can't be like under the age of 21 and be a head coach unless you have like 5+ years of experience because the fact of the matter is like it's really hard to lead people when you like don't have that life experience and you quite aren't there yourself as a person yet either. Now, I'm not saying this is like 100% 0% because I'm sure that there are people who are 18, 19 years old that are like good coaches, you know? I just don't know them and it's just I'm not saying it's black and white, but it's just my general opinion for most for like the majority. Um and a lot of the times with the age, one of the reasons I think this is because like if you just went to high school and like you're 18 years old, you're looking for a head coaching position, you just went to high school and like you went to school, came home, like sat on the computer, your parents, your mother, your father, or a guardian or whomever it may be, like cooked you dinner, you worked like a sometimes worked a part-time job on the weekends, but like everything was like pretty much in place, like you really don't have a lot of life experience to tie into your job. And I think personally, like becoming your job is such an important thing if you're trying to get involved in league staff and like league coaching in general is like this isn't something that you just do as a job. Like this is your career, like this is your life basically. Like it's who you are as a person. And if if you just treat it like a job, you're not going to get very far. And it's really hard if you're unable to tie your life experiences into it and you're unable to like pull yourself into the job. It's really hard to be successful. I mean, like one of the things that I've written down here, and it's like a pretty informal thing, but um, coaching is a lot more mentally and emotionally taxing than you might think it is. Like I spent a lot I spent a lot of nights at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning talking with a player one-on-one because they were stressed out or they were sad or they were angry. Like I spent a lot of times up late at night with staff, with coaches, with other people, analysts, managers, like just talking. And like I spent many days and many nights stressed out, more so than I thought I would be. Um, but you know what? It's like I felt like I came out of it okay, and I felt like I made it good experiences for myself and the people that I work with because I was able to tie my life experience into it. Um, One example in particular is I won't say who the player is, but just out of privacy, but um, this player was really struggling um, about just like feeling like he was plateauing just in the game, but also just in his life in general. And he's 19 years old and or like 19 or 20 or something like that, and we just went for a walk around the neighborhood, and like because I've had a fair amount of life experience for my age, um, I felt like I was able to tie my experiences when I was 19, 20, 21 years old, just when I felt like I was plateauing in life and struggling because there were years where I was. Um, I was able to kind of tie that in, not esports related, but turn it into something esports related and really help that person like emotionally and mentally, and which ended up helping him physically. His gameplay got better, and like you'll just be such a better coach and such a better staff in general if you can just like sink yourself into your job like that. Um, and that's why I think like life experience and age is like a big deal. But just to wrap up wrap up in general, I don't really want to talk for too long, but overall just like be confident in yourself and always try to like bring something new to the table, but you need to also just be humble and understand your place on the totem pole. And that's something I say a lot, like the totem pole thing, but i in my opinion, it's very true. Like, just take it one notch at a time, take it one step at a time, take it one roll at a time. Like, don't rush into it. Like, don't gun for it right away. Like, learn as much as you can. Ask questions. Like, reach out for help. I still reach out to people on a daily basis. I text, uh, I text Hermit like almost on a daily basis. Just asking questions and just like talking and just get a better feel for it and just like be vulnerable. Like, understand when you need help and understand when you've got it. Like, push yourself, ask for help, like just be yourself, be confident and understand your place, and eventually your time will come. And eventually you'll get that opportunity. And if you really just, in my opinion, not saying it's the only way, but if you take it in this way and take it and gain as much experience as you can and push forward, you're going to do fine.